Hey everybody, I am just thinking about preventing conflict and what does navigating conflict in the next few weeks, next many weeks, look like in terms of workplace conflict in particular. And I've shared this tip before. I've shared this and talked about this with my group of not-for-profits that are doing my Building Collaborative Workplaces course right now, and I wanted to share it with you as well. So I think that if you have a work team right now that's continuing to work and you're working remotely, one of the things that you can be very sure of, I think, is that communicating in a space that's not face-to-face is going to create additional opportunities for conflict unless navigated in a particular way or in a very, I think, careful way. And so I wanted to just give you a quick sense of what could be helpful. And I think that even if you're feeling like you're quite sure that everybody knows what they are supposed to be doing and who's in charge of what and that sort of thing, I still think that having daily check-ins, and I think, if you really want to do best practice, more than one check-in, and they don't have to be long. And I think that doing it on video conferencing is what I would suggest is the best practice at this particular time when face-to-face isn't possible, and I would suggest that rather than over the phone or over email. And so what I would suggest as a best practice is that if everybody's working every day, I would have a check-in in the morning. And like I said, it doesn't have to be long. I like Zoom for that, and you could have a 15-minute, 20-minute, depends on how big your team is, check in the morning. And I would say, maybe there's a few questions you could ask. And maybe you don't have to ask these every single time. But, how are you managing in this strange and scary time? Do a little round, let people talk for a minute or so. What's up with you? What's on your plate today in terms of work? What do you need support with? And, are there any issues or questions or concerns that we should talk about as a team? You could do each of those as a round, or you could just do one round where people have a minute or two each to talk about all of those. I would definitely encourage you to ask for those concerns, questions, issues, especially around how you're communicating together, and just really encourage you to ask for the conflict, because if you let it simmer, like one of the things that's happening right now is that we're not having these just informal, running into each other and maybe solving some issues in a really informal way in the lunchroom or whatever. And so there's a lot of things that maybe aren't going to get nipped in the bud. And so I think people will wait. They'll wait to reach out to say, hey, can we have a conversation about that email, or I want to talk about that last exchange that we had on the phone, or whatever. It maybe seems more formal to reach out and ask for the conversation, and so we're missing those opportunities to just run into each other in the hall or whatever, to be able to manage that sort of thing and nip things in the bud. So I think things will escalate, and so I guess I'd really also encourage you, first of all, ask for it. So have your team meetings, have your team check-ins, and say, are there some communication issues that we need to nip in the bud right now? What do we need to talk about? Encourage people to reach out one-to-one, and if they can use something like Zoom, I think that that's really important, because then you're going to see a little bit more of the body language. You're going to see a little bit more. You're going to hear more of the tone of voice, and when you can see those, there's less chance for assumptions to be made. So really encourage that. So I said, if you really want to do this in a best practice way, check in every morning, have a lunch break together. So this is for teams that are that are still working all day, 8 to 4, whatever you're doing, but you're doing it remotely. Have a lunch break together. And don't talk about work. Just be like eating your sandwich and saying like, how's it going? How are people managing working from home? What are your best practices for that? It doesn't have to be super long. It could be 15 minutes. And then do a check-in at the end of the day as well. And again, these don't have to be long. These could be a 15-minute little check-in. How was the day? What were your wins? What's on your plate for tomorrow? Anything that anybody needs some support with. So that's my tip for like really best practice for preventing, navigating potential conflict. 3 times a day, check in. Again, this is for teams that are continuing to work full time, but separately in your homes. Just be really generous with your assumptions. Be really slow to take offense. Know that people are communicating in a different way, and have different, personality types, right? So we have different personality types, different styles of communicating. And when we can't see the body language, when we can't hear the tone of voice, and we're sending emails back and forth, some people are going to be like right to the point and seem really curt. Other people maybe are not going to be as clear as they could be, because they don't want to offend or whatever. So just be really super generous with your assumptions. If you can't be, then clarify. Just check in with people. You could say, hey, I know communicating online is going to create has really high potential for creating misunderstanding and conflict, and I want to make sure that doesn't happen with us. I want to make sure that we come out of this with, our working relationship as strong as it is, and our relationship's really important to me. So can we just have a really honest conversation about how we're going to navigate this together? You could have that as your whole team, or it could be a one-on-one thing. How are we going to navigate this together? How are we going to navigate our communication over the course of the next several weeks, so that we come out of this feeling like we're still good, we're strong, and that we can be really comfortable saying to each other, hey, I just want to check in on that last email. I wasn't sure what your intent was there. Is everything okay, or whatever? So be really honest. Ask for the communication. And be open when someone says to you, that felt really awkward, or you seemed really curt when you said that. Like, remember, everybody's under stress, and so just be really generous. Be super slow to be offended. Just really be very slow to take offense, and just coach yourself. And say, you know what, people are under stress. I don't know what their intent was. I'm going to check in. And I think, probably I'll have some other ideas as time goes on. So thanks for watching. I hope everybody's taking care.